Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to JoyNews Today. Coming up in this bulletin, dysfunctional traffic lights in and around Accra and Tema creating lots of chaos and road rage at major intersections and junctions of the two cities. This afternoon, we'll take you around some of the intersections and understand the actual problems. Also coming up, death toll in the northeast flat rises to 5 with the discovery of another body 1 week after torrential rains flooded and broke the banks of a major dam in the region. We have details. Now, on Niger coup, minority in parliament, it says the government resolves the current crisis in Niger through a diplomatic means.
Our stance in the minority hasn't changed. We are firmly of the view that the Niger crisis ought to be resolved through diplomatic means.
And on our climate focus series today, we tell you about the growing effort by agriculturists to encourage farmers to return to indigenous food production due to its environmentally friendly nature. These plus business, sports, world news, and showbiz coming up in this hour. Remember, we're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 around the world on myjoyonline.com. Stay with us for details. Now, in the heart of the busy capital, a silent danger has been steadily growing, casting a shadow over the safety of road users. The once reliable traffic lights have fallen into a state of disrepair, rendering them dysfunctional at many key intersections in the city. As the city's roads become a chaotic scene of vehicles navigating without proper guidance, concerns are mounting over the increasing risk of road traffic crashes. This critical issue not only disrupts the flow of urban life, but also threatens the lives and well-being of countless individuals who traverse these dangerous intersections each day. Samuel Mbro of our Drive Safe campaign team was on the ground monitoring the situation and shared the following report.
Right behind me, you can see that the traffic light is totally off at the UPSA traffic intersection. I'm told that this has been there for over a year now, and it is causing a serious chaos for drivers here. Let me just try and engage some of the drivers to hear from them how the situation has been for them for the past years. So, me pacho, that's say one year time I might say you know because of Joy News. And Mohanom no, how to say?
Well, Yahanom no, a problem because one way a main road from 37 to Medina going to Ebri and Dodowa. It's a main road, big highway. Now traffic light way. First, na a Jumana a solar system. And a woman so to na call off now mama baye, so to na call off now mama baye. And I fed the cables now a free solar panel no ebese yejuma e the power ma traffic light no. Cable no obi awa betucha akron 4 hour be wia wo form ho no mo. Inti abeda the problem almost more than 2 years ni traffic light we enye juma.
Traffic light na enye juma no aya na hanom te se mu hu accidents wa ha as a result.
Accident dey bebre. Accident bebre almost every day. In the daytime ni there accident ANC because police for ever directed traffic. Legon police for a higher omo point into omo directed traffic wa pa omo fanya agro. And a visibility for no so no e wa ha no mu tembia into omo directed traffic. Na mom no adiasa fiti anadwo be 9 mu ho na eja nipa ye djuma na obre akon home. Ade be che obeba no na cars a crash wa ha. Ana moto 8 minute car be crash wa ha no mo. Accident dey hu bebre anaya ye ba djuma entem tsa homachi 4 AM no. Sata obeba na police for no embaye. Obeba na accident.
Na person paying for enyema mo sesia.
Well, and penny for Emra fix traffic light, no. All
right. So, Benis, to what he's saying is that the situation is actually something that they are worried about. His claim earlier was that the traffic light used to be solar panel powered, but some thieves allegedly came and broke and then stole some of the wirings, rendering it dysfunctional. They have made several appeals to no avail. What they want now is authorities to move in because they have been witnessing accidents here. There are police officers here to control traffic, ensuring that there's a traffic flow, but they are not here at all times, like the driver said. As early as 4 a.m., the police are not here, and because it is a major highway, we know that this the road that leads to Eburi and its environs, and it's actually one of the critical highways in Accra here. But I have one of the drivers here.
Now, Kwame Kodia is Director in charge of Regulatory Inspection and Compliance at the National Road Safety Authority. He joins us now for some interaction on this. Grateful to you for joining us, sir. Now, last year you gave a directive to the urban roads to ensure that all traffic lights that are malfunctioning are fixed. Why do we still have, malfunctioning traffic light a year on?
Thank you. It's been good if we have feedback from the Department of Urban Roads. Have you tried to talk to them?
What sort of feedback are they giving you?
Yeah, I was asking whether you have tried to talk to them.
I have tried to. No. I mean, you gave the feedback. You gave the order to them to try and then.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But,
yes. And that's what I want to find out from you, because once you gave the order, it means that they will be reporting to you whether or not they've been able to do it and what the factors are. And that's why I'm asking you why we still have more functioning traffic lights.
Yeah, so let's take a step back a bit.
Okay.
I think, yes, when we issued the directive, they responded within the 60-day ultimatum and indicated that some of them were actually not dysfunctional, except to say that because of the supply of power, at some point they go off. That was one. The second was that some that were dysfunctional at the time had been taken on contract. So within a period of time, the expectation was for the ones on contract to be fixed. I must say that between then and now, even though some improvements have been recorded on the ones that were identified in the audit of 2022, I mean, some other traffic lights have gone into the same state, and we have brought that to their attention. The same issues about contract issues, delays, have accounted for the constraints that we have on our own in order to provide an interim measure. I mean, working with the police, and the account from your report confirms that for major hotspots during WAS period, we work with the police to deploy interim traffic wardens. In fact, there's a discussion that we are yet to initiate with the Youth Employment Agency to assist to provide those gaps within the intervening period. And that's what we can report on. Ultimately, I mean, the Department of Urban Roads is a public agency like the authority. We all have your duty bearers, and we owe the public a certain measure of responsibility. So I would encourage you that with the same force that you apply in getting feedback from us, when you extend the same level
okay.
of...
That's fine. So what percentage of the ones that you identified have been worked on?
Say again.
What percentage of the ones that you identified last year have
been
been
worked on?
Well,
you just called a few minutes ago. I will not be able to give you the fine details. Yes, but some of them, and I must admit, the ROC Pokwasi, which was in your report, has been a standing issue for the longest period. Even though it was in our report, we haven't seen as much improvement between then and now. It is unclear what the issue is, whether it's been repaired and suffer the effect of theft and all that. I'm unable to give an account of that. But there were a number of traffic lights which were captured in the first report.
Worrying is it for the road safety when traffic lights are not functioning in the city?
Yes, I mean, it's a safety issue. It has safety implications, which is why we issued the alert to draw motorists' attention to them. You know, when you have vehicles coming into conflict with other road users at these intersections, what the traffic lights do is to manage conflict, is to assist the pedestrian to cross the road at the appropriate time, vehicles to move, and that kind of thing. So to avoid vehicular-pedestrian conflict in the roadway, the traffic lights, in the absence of the policeman, provides that sense of tidiness and regulation. So it's such a major concern for us.
So I asked that question because if for over a year, we've not been able to deal with all the problems we identified a year ago. And today we have new traffic lights that have begun malfunctioning. I sought not to see the seriousness it is for us when the traffic lights are not working.
Say that again. You dare say that?
I'm saying that, I asked that question based on something, that if after a year, the traffic lights we identified, not all of them have been repaired, and today we've had more joining in the malfunctioning bandwagon, I don't see how serious they are then to us if traffic lights are not functioning.
Yeah, so that's why I said that without the benefit of an updated data, I won't be able to confirm that. But yes, at the last count, before the urban roads got to us, I think close to about 60% of those that were dysfunctional at the time had been fixed. Within the 60-day period, ultimatum that was given, and that was progress. And they provided an explanation that for the ones that were reported as dysfunctional, it was because the light could not stay on, or some were actually dysfunctional which had been given on contract. I'm suggesting that between then and now, even though there's been some improvement in the ones that were audited and reported to them, I admit, because we also use the road, and we come into contact with these difficulties on a regular or daily basis. There are some others that have gotten into a similar state now, but it doesn't mean that the ones that were reported or the ones that were captured in the earlier report had not been fixed. Not all of them, some of them. And I alluded to the Awoshipokwasi incident. So yes, we'll do an update scientifically to be able to see where we stand from the before and after, and be able to take further action. But in all of this, fully aware of what we are required to do, I was trying to encourage you that the Department of Urban Roads is a public agency like us, which is accountable to the public. So, in as much as we demand the impact from us,
you want us to go to them
I'm trying
as
to
well.
encourage you.
That's fine.
That you knock very hard on their doors, and they may be able to provide frontline information, which I may not have at this point in time.
Okay. I mean, we've tried to get them to respond to the issues where they are not responding to our calls, but when we do get them, we'll put some of these questions to them as well. I'm grateful to you for joining us here. To other stories, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, has begun a thorough assessment and scrutiny of the proposed test books for basic schools in the country. Professor Edward Appiah, Director General of the NACA, is currently leading a delegation to visit some schools in Accra to inspect test books being used in selected public and private schools. Here is an interaction between Professor Edward Appiah and the head teacher for Manche Taki, the first primary.
The standard curriculum is fine. Well, but some of them they will say based on NACA curriculum, but it's not. It's not NACA approved.
This one, the gentleman brought it last 2 weeks. So I gave it to the teachers to check if it is.
But have you gone through it?
Yes, please. It's very useful.
It's useful.
Yes, I'm setting some of the questions
From that. What makes it useful?
Because it's easy to comprehend.
Because they didn't bring it to us to assess. So it's a supplementary, all right, fine. But if it's a supplementary, we still want. Okay, so this. You see, one of the things that we are also doing is we want to avoid sole or testing. I mean, okay, so you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 authors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one is a sole author. So between this and this, which one do you think will be rich? Yeah. So in trying to look for the book, those are the things that you need to look out for. Look for books that are not so authors. Because like, for example, religious and moral, for example. Religious and moral, for example, you have what do you call it? The African tradition. You have the Christian, and then you have the Muslim. So one person, do you think he can do all? Yeah, so it's important that you get those. So in trying to get the books, try as much as possible to look out for those things, which will help you. Yes, we are not saying you have to use only our books to prepare, but for the kids, only our books. Yes. But in your preparations, you have other resources. But make sure that the books will help you.
Head teacher of Manche, Taki, the first primary, Belinda Dede Sefako, revealed that the textbooks available are inadequate. She appeals to parents for the meantime to purchase those books by themselves.
We have some of the textbooks, they've been provided, but there are some 3 other subjects which have not been provided. So we'll be grateful if the government would.
Which subjects?
What are those 3 subjects?
Our world, our people, history, religious and moral education. And in addition, those in the upper primary also need creative arts textbooks and computing as well.
So how do you teach this subject area without the textbooks?
We use the internet. Now the internet helps a lot, and
you get details from the internet.
We get details from the internet because we have the curriculum and a resource pack. So we get other references from the internet.
Is the lack of it affecting teaching and learning?
In a way, I would say yes, because the children need it to, at least when they see pictures of things, it will help them. When they see the pictures and they are able to read, it helps them. The teachers jot down a few points for them, but if they have the books, it will help them more. Because
how long has this been?
Since the curriculum started in 2019.
You've had this challenge?
Yes, we've had this challenge, but they've solved it to a point. So, by providing some of the books for us last year.
Leaving out the 3 books that you talked about?
The other 3 have not been provided.
At all?
At all, yes.
Okay.
But the ones provided, I can see they are even not adequate. The books are shared through.
Yeah, the teacher said she's sharing the books.
How do they do their homework?
They don't send them home. We use them in the school because where most of them live, if we give the books to them, they wouldn't bring it back. So we use it as references in the classroom, and they copy the homework from it and send it home.
Okay.
So what if they need to make any reference? How do they go about it?
That's one. Some of their parents are provided. We've asked them to try and get some on the market. We've been educating them to do that, the parents.
That's the same copy on the market?
Yes, they can. They have, these books are on the market.
On it,
the approved book by NACA?
The approved ones, yes. The winning mats and the rest, they are all on the market.
On it, they say strictly not for sale. So how will they get?
No, there are copies that are for sale, but this one is made for the public schools, so it's not for sale.
Let's go to the phone now and speak with Jacqueline Yeboah for more. Jacqueline, which schools have you visited and what more can you report for us?
Okay, Brace. So we've been to 8 schools so far, all under Manche Taki schools and a Muji cluster of schools. And as you heard earlier, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment has initiated a comprehensive evaluation, which is intended for most of the schools across the nation. So currently we are with Professor Edward Apia, who is the Director General of NACA. And a few of the revelations that came out was that most of the unapproved books were in the schools. And also we found out that most of the books in here were authored by just individuals and they didn't go through the whole process. So these were most of the issues that came out during the tour. But the exercise is not ending today. It is expected to continue in the upcoming days.
Okay. But how's NACA responding to the concerns?
Okay, so generally, the movement today is to sensitize them. So if they come back later on to find out that the teachers in the school are still giving out textbooks which are unapproved, they will definitely take sanctions against them or take decisions against them. But today is just mainly to sensitize them and educate them about the approved books by the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment.
All right, Jacqueline, grateful to you for joining us here. So she is on a tour with the NACA team. To other stories, ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, James Agalga, has advised the government to resolve the current crisis in Niger through a diplomatic means. According to the ranking member, the minority still stand by their previous assertion and not backing up even after the meeting between the Joint Committee of Foreign Affairs, Defense and Interior, together with the National Security Minister and the Interior Minister, to brief them on the unfolding situation in Niger.
Basically, what they did was to brief us on the unfolding situation in Niger behind closed doors. Now, I will not speak to the issues that were discussed in detail because I'm injuncted from doing so the rules were set for ourselves prior to the commencement of that meeting. And so if I were to zero in on the details, it would amount to a betrayal of the trust that we forged. But having said that, one thing was very clear. The three security ministers did not come to the joint committees of foreign affairs and defense and interior to seek parliamentary approval. That is fundamental. In any case, if they had attempted to do so, well, the joint committees wouldn't even have the capacity because the committees do not constitute parliament. And so if you really want parliamentary approval, you come before the entire house with the speaker in the chair presiding. Then resolutions can be passed appropriately. So what they did was to pass on some information to the committee. We argued. Our stance in the minority hasn't changed. We are firmly of the view that the Niger crisis ought to be resolved through diplomatic means. Through diplomatic means. We are convinced in our minds that we haven't exhausted the diplomatic option and therefore should not start a war in Niger.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament has assured that should government act in a haste to deploy troops to Niger without giving an ear to the minority, they will turn the government away when they come back for funding. Mr. Galga says Ghana deploying troops involves the use of money to equip the troops, which the House has to approve because Parliament controls the purse.
Fundamentally, I made the point earlier on that, look, we can talk about our international obligations and how we must be compliant and so on and so forth. But here we are talking about war. You cannot go to war without funding. Who controls the purse?
Parliament.
Parliament. So will you come back to Parliament or not? So if you act in a haste, you deploy. Wait a minute. Tomorrow, Colonel spoke about assets. You know, you need to properly equip the troops to protect their lives. All right? Will you come back to Parliament or not? If you come, is it not about the same thing? You'll be seeking for approval to be effective on the battlefield. You cure that problem if you come first. If you come back after you have defied Parliament and gone, we'll turn you away.
Let's take you to the northeast now, because the death toll in that region where floods occurred last week has risen to 5. Now, one more person was found washed ashore in the Nalerigu Dam. The body of the unidentified individual was retrieved and buried under the supervision of the National Disaster Management Organization and the police. Meanwhile, efforts are continuing today by the regional authorities to reach communities that have been cut off since last week by the flood. The regional minister, Yidana Zakaria, who is leading the effort, said he was distraught by the level of destruction caused by the floods. Correspondent Elias Utanko reports from the Eastern Municipality.
Following recent flooding in the northeast region, the regional minister has commenced a special working visit across the region to assess the aftermath of the destruction unleashed by the floods. The flooding caused by torrential rains last Wednesday destroyed houses and farmlands and crops and washed away roads across the region. The flood was initially reported in the west and eastern municipalities, where a lot of attention had been concentrated following the collapse of a dam as it washed away the Naleruku Wale Road and grounded traffic on the road. The National Disaster Management Organization in the region had said it was unable to go into some of the flooded communities in other parts of the region to conduct assessments. Although the Disaster Management Organization have received relief items, it is yet to deliver them to the victims due to a lack of access as a result of damages to roads and bridges. However, as the flood waters have begun to recede, the regional minister is leading a tour of the affected areas to assess the state of destruction caused by the rain disaster. Starting from the Eastman municipality, Mr. Idana, in the company of the municipal chief executive, visited the Gbintri enclave. On his way, he inspected the Nalerugu Gbintri road, which was devastated by the flood. Dozens of farmers were seen rushing to salvage their crops taken over by the flood. The minister also made time to interact with some of them. At the Jimbali community located along the road, the flood destroyed almost all the houses and other properties in the community, leaving over 150 inhabitants displaced. These internally displaced residents, composed mainly of women and children, were relocated and accommodated in a primary school in the next village, Yankazia. The minister was there to express his empathy and assure them of government support. Speaking to Joy News, the displaced persons recount how they escaped the fury of the flood as it engulfed the community. What you see us wearing is all that is left. We had to carry our children on trees to escape the floods. My daughter had a new baby. Both of them were saved by the tree. We've lost everything. We've lost our houses, cooking utensils and everything. This is all that is left of my belongings and properties. The minister also paid a courtesy call to the chief of Gbintri to express his commiseration and inform him about the efforts of government to ameliorate the suffering of the people.
Now, experts believe producing indigenous food crops is more environmentally friendly than commercial agriculture since it uses less water and fewer chemical fertilizers and pesticides. These ancient agricultural methods preserve soil biodiversity while nourishing the food that grows. Farmers, experts, and agriculturists all agree that the moment has come to return to indigenous foods that are rapidly becoming extinct. JoyNews' Mohammed Nuruddin reports there is a growing effort to encourage farmers to embrace indigenous food cultivation.
In Toronto, or you go to the grocery shops, you see organic food. The prices are very high, and then the inorganic food are for the poor people because you can't afford the organic food.
What we see across the world is an emerging health and food and environmental crisis. We see the globalization of foods, which is coded language for the westernization of foods. Cheap food, industrial foods are taking over people's diets, they're taking over people's landscapes.
Because somebody is telling you to produce something different. When I was growing up, my grandmother was doing canton. Kara, that is wet corn, they will use when they just harvest it. They will use it with this, no plastic, all all these plastics you are having, they are using these cola nut leaves to wrap it. How come? Where are we here? Because it is about policy.
Indigenous food such as wasa-wasa, tubani, gabli, sunkwila, and even TZ from millet are now becoming extinct.
So TZ is beginning to be something that only poor people rather eat TZ, right? Poor people eat TZ. If you are rich, you eat fried rice and pizza.
They were once farmed and cooked in rural areas and marketed to a small but rising number of people who were aware of the nutritional and environmental benefits. This emerging sector potentially built long food chains, leaving the food system dependent on global food imports. As weather patterns change, this has resulted in greater food unavailability in some communities.
And then local drinks as well as foreign drinks and pastries and things. So this is poha. We tried it last night in our dinner.
A study conducted by Dr. Sarah Veselo, assistant professor at the University of Toronto, on the impact of globalizing local and urban food systems on food security, calls on local and national decision makers to promote and safeguard indigenous food systems and the biodiversity they protect.
Where I come from in Canada, our food system has been transformed in the name of profit and not to feed people. So the only people who can afford food that is nutritious, that is not toxic, that is culturally appropriate, are wealthier people. And all of the industrial foods in the West are considered cheap foods, like KFC is poor man's food in Canada, for example.
Now, the Ejisu Municipal Health Directorate in the Ashanti region is calling for the immediate completion of a children's block at the Ejisu Government Hospital. The construction, which started 5 years ago, has stalled due to financial constraints. Municipal Health Director Josephine Echufe Ahoso says the present space dedicated for care of children is inadequate to ensure quality healthcare delivery. Daniel Jima has more in the following report.
The children's block, which started in 2018, has missed its completion date. The two-story structure is at the roofing stage. Unfortunately, funding for the completion has ceased. The children's clinic at the hospital is presently being run from a small space within the hospital's main building. Officials are overwhelmed by the numbers. Josephine Achufe Ahosu is Municipal Health Director.
As we speak, we need it badly. We need this structure to be completed so that we could give quality of care to the children who visit our facility. The space they have now is small. The space they have for the children's block, if you go to the children's block, you realize that it's just a small place. But with this one, because now we have pediatrician, we have a specialist, and so it means that she can do more if she's given enough space to operate.
The Ejisu municipality has about 10 health facilities catering for the health needs of the population. For years, some of the facilities have been without proper hospital beds, affecting quality healthcare delivery. Ms. Ahosu enumerated the challenge.
But when the bed is not appropriate, it brings strain to the health workers. And because of that, some of them will be falling sick. They'll have problems with their back and all that. Some have sleep discs and all other. And we are saying that we have, this even is a period where our health workers are hesitating. And so when we don't make them happy, we don't make them comfortable.
The Member of Parliament of Ejisu, John Ampuntiakuma, has mobilized some entrepreneurs within the constituency to raise 100 beds for 10 health facilities in the area. The gesture is expected to help deal with the no-bed syndrome, which is common in some health facilities in the country.
It was a very dilapidated, weak bed, and some of the communities like Fumesa, when I went there, they were supporting the hospital bed with stones. In fact, it was very, very distasteful to behold. So it pushed me to begin to think about how we can get good beds for our various hospitals. And so I started mobilizing the entrepreneurs, and we were able to raise enough for first 100 brand new beds, and we are insisting that we replace all the existing beds in the various wards. They can use the existing ones as backup beds, but we want these brand new ones to replace all the existing beds.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
You're still watching Joy News Today. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with business. Stay with us.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Ghana's savings from crude oil exports since it started producing oil in commercial quantities has declined marginally. The Ghana Petroleum Fund's report showed that it dropped to $1 billion ending June this year. George Rafi has more.
In June 2022, the balance in Ghana's accounts in the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, USA, stood at $1.2 billion. However, fast forward to June 2023, and this amount reduced to $1 billion. A careful look at the account shows that an amount of $83 million was withdrawn on this account, ending June this year. However, we don't have fine details of the accounts to establish the exact date the withdrawal was done. Ghana's savings from oil exports and production has been put into the Ghana Stabilization Fund and the Ghana Heritage Fund. The country's laws requires that part of these earnings should be put in the Ghana Stabilization Fund so that government can fall on in times of crisis to finance the budget. On the other hand, the Ghana Heritage Fund is meant for future generations, so they can benefit from Ghana's oil find. The Ghana Stabilization Fund currently has $134 million in it, whilst the Ghana Heritage Fund has $962 million. This brings the total amount in these two accounts to $1 billion. Again, a careful look at the accounts have raised questions about the returns on them. This is because the laws that guide the petroleum funds actually restrict on areas that it can be invested.
Now, government and other financial authorities have been admonished to create a tertiary financial literacy course to furnish the youth with fiscal knowledge and skills. Experts at a financial prosperity summit in Kumasi raised concern about Ghana's 32% scoring in Global Financial Literacy Survey, which falls among countries with lowest financial literacy rate. That means a large section of the population lacks fundamental financial skills like budgeting, investing, managing debt, and revenue. Clinton Yeboah has more in the following report.
Individuals who have little knowledge of financial management are susceptible to making ill-informed decisions that can implicate their financial stability. About 80% of Ghanaians are financially uneducated, according to the National Strategy for Financial Literacy Education and Consumer Protection. With the global economy evolving, financial knowledge has been acknowledged as necessary for personal economic growth. Managing Director of EDC Investment Limited, Paul Kofi Mante, speaking at the Financial Prosperity Summit 2023, advocated for the inclusion of financial literacy as a mandatory course in universities.
And we think that it's a very good program because the issue of money is not taught in school. So a lot of people go through school, they are highly educated, but they are financially illiterate. It's my strong recommendation that we implement it across our universities. Anybody who goes through a university education must have some financial literacy. So it must be a compulsory course that anybody who goes through a university must go through. So you learn the basic things about money management because money is everybody's business. It doesn't matter whether you are training to become a medical doctor or an architect or an engineer or whatever. Money is everybody's business and everybody needs to measure money. And it's my strong recommendation that we think about implementing this across our universities.
The summit was on the theme, Building Our Financial Future, by the Student Representative Council in collaboration with the Accounting Student Association of the Akenten Apiamenka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development. The event assembled financial experts to equip students with financial management tricks to succeed in an increasingly complex financial world. Amastad SRC President Stephen Sikawiafi explained the summit will bridge the financial knowledge gap among students.
There are so many ways to generate income or money, and sometimes we are limited in our dispensation. Most of the youth are limited. There are some other stuff some of us needed to know 5 years back, of which, because we were limited, we didn't get opportunity to some of these information. But as it stands now, personally, I have benefited from this particular program because the information I needed to know last 5 years or 10 years, I have gotten to know it now.
Financial expert Dr. Evans Dia also indicated that
Ghana needs more businesses to thrive. We need to create an enabling condition in our country, and that is the best way that we should go. We need to, because Ghana has become a destination of choice for investors. So many investors in West Africa, they prefer Ghana. So what I think we should do is to create more enabling environment. Policies like 1D, 1F, they should enhance it, they should open it up and make sure that so many industries are benefiting from it, so that once productivity is up, it will be able to help with our GDP, will be able to help with creation of employment.
Reporting for JoyNews, Clinton Yeboah.
All right, up next, sports, to stay with us.
On JoyNews Today with me, Muftao Nabila Abdullah, board member of Accra House of Folk, Dr. Nyawo Tamaklo, has thrown his weight behind Kurt Okreko to be given opportunity to steer the affairs of Ghana football for the next 4 years. According to him, Kurt Okreko took over the governance of football in the country at a time the football community was facing challenges, and he believes that an opportunity for the former executive chairman of Dreams FC to continue will ensure that he stabilizes football the more. He believes that Kurt Okreko so far has been able to stabilize the shape in terms of the governance of football in the country and has charged stakeholders to throw their weight behind him for an opportunity to lead football for the next 4 years. The Ghana Football Association, they have scheduled September 27 as the date they will be going for the presidential elections in Tamale. And still on Kurt Okreko, and over the weekend, the football governing body launched the FIFA Football for Schools initiative in the country. He believes that this is an initiative that has potential to produce the next best talent in the country.
You having passed these exams marks the beginning of your role in transferring same to many other people and to our kids. It's important you truly consume what you've been taught. It's important that you carry on with the passion of transferring what you have been taught today to other people and many others who are not here with us today. That you will hear today speaks volumes of your commitment to be part of a big story that has started unfolding today. The young kids that we find right in front of us will eventually be some of the stars that will be watching in the years to come.
That's our wrap-up sports here with me, Muftao Nabila Abdullah. You can head on to my joyonline.com for some more sports stories. Up next.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews Today. Now, renowned gospel musician Pastor Joe Beecham has revealed he is still in the gospel ministry and will soon come out with a record soon. He spoke to JoyNews.
Why are we not seeing more of you?
Thank you. The songs were born out of prayer, and the motive behind it was to be a blessing to the world. In fact, I've been ministering a lot in congregations. I've not been on the showbiz stage for quite a long time, but I've been singing in congregations all across the world. I believe that very soon you'll see me again.
You'll be releasing a song soon, any album, any works coming up?
Yes, a lot is going to happen. I'll be knocking at your doors very soon because there is something going to happen and it's going to be massive. We are going to come out with a lot of singles to be a blessing to the nation and the world as well.
Now, Ghanaian musician and influencer Diamond Michelle Magona, popularly known as Michi, has expressed her intention of becoming a politician. She said on Joy FM Showbiz A to Z that apart from serving the people, her political ambitions is the reason she's currently studying law.
How long do you see yourself doing music? For how long?
As long as it's paying, you know. I do have goals. That's why I'm going to school now. I have several goals for the future, and it would include doing this, you know, for my 40s, my 50s. Hopefully we can go into politics, you know, one day. So let's see.
Politics?
I can't tell. Yes, definitely.
You have political ambitions?
What am I going to school for? What are we studying law?
Oh.
You know, one, to back my NGO in future, and then two, if there's, you know,
any special reason?
For me
any special reason you want to enter into politics?
Into politics, that's literally the best job in Ghana at the moment. Let's be as real as we can be.
That's the reason you want to be a politician?
The one reason, aside that, you know, it's giving you a certain status in society that opens doors for you that, you know, might not be open to anyone else. So it's for the status, for the opportunity to be able to help other people.
On that note, we end Showbiz here on JoyNews Today. The small showbiz news and subsequent bulletins. My name is Becky.
And that's all in our package for you for today. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Up next is Marketplace with Daryl Kwao. My name is Samuel Kojo. Praise to have a great afternoon.